Welcome back, everybody. This is the Q&A part 2. We're just going to jump right back into it. So sit tight and enjoy these crazy answers to all of your Benders and Brews questions.
Brock, this question's coming to you from Bread Bowler 44.
Okay.
Following the finale, does Brock give up Rumble fighting, or is he still competing? Will he compete again?
I could see him competing again. But now that he has to help run the Blissful Brew,
What is he got? Oh, I don't got enough time
I
don't know.
he's
Ash
got
just ditched us, so you
responsibilities.
could too.
to learn how to read.
to learn how to
Gotta
read.
keep up with his
And
lessons.
Sora just keeps bugging him, just like, oh,
I don't know, getting married or
Can't
something.
take a hint.
Yeah, this lady just can't take a hint.
Do you want to go get coffee? Do you want to go to the theme park or the carnival?
Yeah, she just won't
Do you
stop
wanna,
nagging me.
I don't know, kiss?
Do you want to go ring shopping?
Until, like, water freezing in winter, it cracks Brock's rock exterior.
Oh.
That's right, Sora. Keep at it. He'll break one of these days.
The question was, does he start back up at Rumble Stadium? And the follow-up question is, but does something happen between Brock and Sora?
Well, he was very obviously oblivious to any sort of advances being made by Sora.
To what extent what do you think her breaking point is? Where she just finally says, she's like, dang it, man, I'm into you.
I don't know. I feel like with the way that Brock
When
was,
Brock asks her to write a love letter to some old woman.
it's like, are you, like, hey, I need help expressing my love
There's
for
this
this
pirate
woman.
lady.
She's like, oh, really? Oh, okay. What do you want? Like, will you help me write a letter? He's like, yeah. And it just starts off like all this.
It's like the
mushy stuff.
classic,
And it's
like,
like,
Your
okay,
eyes
great.
Sparkle.
It's the
like,
classic
oh, thanks.
sitcom thing where like the one character thinks the other one likes them, and so
Yeah.
they start like, "Can you help me write this letter?" And they think it's to them the whole time, and at the very end they go,
Great. And then I take it out of her hands. I take it
and he
right over
writes
to the pirate
"Dear,"
lady.
and he writes on the top of the letter after he closes it up, and he writes "random pirate lady." Yeah, like,
She had a
Perfect.
name.
I'll just be like, perfect. She's in town. I'll go and I like dap her up on the way out. It's like, thanks, bro. I think that would have been fantastic. But I think
that's a great scenario.
I think something like that would sooner happen than Brock realize that Sora's into him.
Sure.
Until she literally hits him over the head with a
Yeah.
rock.
Mm.
Which
And then
honestly,
Brock's
for him,
gonna
That's
be
his
like,
language.
"You're
That's
not
his,
old
that's his
enough."
love. That's his love language.
Yeah, so honestly, if all Sora would need to do is just take a heavy rock and just hit him in the
Bash
head
him.
with it, and he'd be like,
I can read now.
I want to take you away from all this.
Oh, nice.
The blissful brew.
But
Wow.
as far as the Earth Rumble stuff, I think he would at least continue it a little bit on the side. It was never a passion of his. It was
Sure.
more out of necessity.
That's fair.
His real passion is pirate ladies.
Oh.
Don't roll your eyes. He had a
Older
shot.
pirate lady.
He had a shot.
He clearly did not. She wanted
had-
nothing to do
Maybe
with
he needs to
him.
start going for younger pirate ladies.
Well, Sora's not a pirate.
Not
She
yet.
would be one just for you.
I was gonna
Not
say
yet.
this feels like a weird situation where she's like, she comes out dressed like a pirate and she's like, and now? Does this work for you?
So
Like,
Ash,
wow,
so
so I
Ash
never
goes and
realized
joins
how
the
beautiful you
war,
were.
and Brock becomes a pirate.
Hey.
I'd be down for that.
Nice. That'd be fun. Jimmy N95 is asking the real questions here. What happens to Dilbert?
I think Guo's got ownership over him, right?
Is he your squid?
I don't know what the lifespan of a turtle squid is.
Well, turtle's like
Turtles live a long time, so-
what's the
Oh, yeah,
lifespan
that's
of a
true.
squid?
I was gonna say it was split the difference.
We'll have to, we'll have to.
Was
gonna
the
average
turtle
him
like
out.
Kinda
300?
squid.
Well, how old was he when we found him? I thought he was like young.
Yeah, he was a fresh
Oh,
squid,
no.
ready
Fresh.
to be chopped up and served.
Yep.
Okay, a giant squid can live up to 14 years.
Oh my
He's not
gosh.
a giant squid,
What
though,
if
is he?
turtle
Regular
squids
squid is
turn
only
it-
3.
Oh. Well, hey,
So-
3
Yeah,
on
let's go giant here.
That's like 50 something.
Hey,
years.
50.
No. Let's keep playing off the idea that he's secretly a giant. Like, turtle squids. Like they
He's
don't.
just a baby.
Yeah, he's just a baby one.
Ah.
And then Glow's like taking care of him and feeding him, and over time he's this giant freaking squid that's washing dishes in the Blissful Brew.
Oh, I like-
and
Dilbert, the big black squid.
big,
And at first, he makes a tank and it's like displayed in the shop.
Nice.
right.
Like, you might make a bigger tank if he ever builds another building. But then, it just keeps growing. And then, like, eventually it gets so big that instead of like riding a boat around to get all these ingredients, he's just riding Dilbert.
Like a Lapras in Pokemon.
Like he lives in the ocean, and then
It's just a tentacruel.
Glow blows a magic conch shell, woo, woo, and then Dilbert comes up to the surface.
And then in the far future, he like builds a Blissful Brew on top of Dilbert.
Oh,
that's
sick.
cool. Nice. It's like the ship in one. It comes back
I
to
was
One
just
Piece.
gonna
again.
say.
Yeah, the
Ship in
restaurant
One Piece,
ship.
yeah.
That's awesome. I love that idea.
I like this idea of Dilbert's just a baby. Like they're so common when they're whatever newborns that people just eat them or
Yeah.
whatever. But
They get fished to such a point where like you don't usually see the big ones.
Yeah.
yeah,
This is a rare survivor.
Because the main thing that makes them grow is love.
Aww. That's beautiful. Connor,
Yeah.
what do you got?
So question for Mika. Knowing how the Southern Water Tribe you came from ended up fleeing their territory, do you think your father ever ran into anyone from your tribe while he was out looking for you? Given how they were spread across the world, you see.
I thought a lot of them disappeared into the cave.
You found notes from the at the time chief, which was technically the shaman from the prequel,
Yeah.
and he said that they were gonna just flee, and he was hoping that he'd be able to keep power or whatever and stay the chief, even though they like go somewhere else.
Well, then, yeah, I figured probably he would have ran into them.
Sure.
I don't know if he would have necessarily tried to talk with them per se, just for the fact that he knows that they're hunting his child.
Whoa. Even now,
I don't know.
or would they have given up on that?
I mean, they might have would have given up, I guess, but they were had to deal with all those spirit things, and now they have to rebuild their home. So maybe they would, but
Right.
I don't know. I feel like he'd be pretty cautious before
yeah.
starting a conversation with them, at the very least.
Sure.
I thought of another question.
Sure.
This one would be for you, Skylar.
Oh man.
Oh,
So, of all of Brock's antics that were trying their best to bend the laws of physics,
Uh-huh.
of any of them, would you have allowed them for the plot, for the memes? Because his attempted makeshift Molotovs,
Mm-hmm.
his jumping off of a cliff,
Mm-hmm.
and like essentially trying to fly, I guess, with the airbender.
I feel like I gave you so much leeway, man.
Also,
You
just
definitely did.
just don't ignore the fact that you just said Brock can break the fourth wall. And
When he's high.
then just force Skylar to have to
Breaking
just
the-
deal with it. Like,
Well, only when
Skylar,
he's-
you didn't even give Skylar a chance to go, no, wait, no, you just made it a fun fact. It's a done. And he's like, wait, what?
It's been established, and he never got high again in the rest of the campaign. It
I mean,
was
here's the
only
thing:
that one episode.
you Bugs Bunnied and made a tunnel as fast into the ground as Madame Yang was falling through the air on the
Faster than
outside of the
gravity.
mountain. Yeah. I mean, that seems like I'm pushing it. I mean, you don't see that in any of the Earthbenders in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Well,
That was
maybe-
pushing it.
Maybe they just didn't try hard enough.
I guess they must not.
Skill issue.
They must not. Have. They didn't Bugs Bunny it. So I don't think I would have given you more leeway. I think if I could go back,
He
all
would
the
give
way
you
back to the
less.
previous one of the first questions. Sky, if you could do anything different, what would you change? I would have given Broccoli less leeway.
That's
what I would've
why
done.
I think one of the best episodes for Brock is still his prequel with Bill, because he got hurt at the start and actually forced Brock to actually
that's
character
true.
develop. It was literally like he said he didn't character. There was one episode, the prequel, because he got hurt at the start of it. And he couldn't earthbend. Like, Skylar took away bending from him because
Pretty
he used
much.
his feet and
It
he
was
hurt
terrible.
his feet.
Yeah.
And it forced Connor and Brock to actually think and actually work and actually have to be character arc.
I had to use
And
my
then
brain.
never got hurt again, and then just had all his powers again, and that's probably why he had no character arc. So, if anything, Skylar, I would have said go back is somehow force him through. He gets tired or fatigued or something that slows him down.
Constantly just have this like dude come in and just beat the crap
Yeah,
out of Brock's
yeah.
legs every couple of episodes.
Yeah.
I don't like using my brain.
Actually, going off of that, just real quick, and I know Cameron, you're next, but just real quick, I can't remember if we talked about it in the prequel episode, but you guys, how did you guys come up with the idea? I know, I just figured the audience would enjoy to hear how you guys came up with the whole concept of the one shot in the first place.
It was me.
It was you.
Yeah, it
came
was
up with the
me.
idea.
Well,
Okay.
basically, Dave and Michaela were out of town.
Right.
And us three guys were free that night still.
Right,
And
but you guys came up with the idea before that
before we came up with what idea?
for the whole one shot.
Did we?
Yeah,
Oh.
during the trip to California or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did come up with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were on a trip, and me and Connor it was me, Connor, and a couple other guys, or a couple of our other friends that are in this podcast group. But anyways, we were all on this trip, and me and Connor talked about doing a one shot on the trip because we were doing a lot of hiking and stuff, and we went into a cave. And while in the cave, we had this idea where like, what if Bill and Brock recorded a podcast in a cave? That was the premise of what we came up with. Is Bill and Brock started like a podcast
like from
in
a
caves.
meta perspective.
Yeah, like in a meta perspective, they started doing a podcast, right? What a blah blah. That was the joke idea. But then we were like, what if there was a mini one shot episode we ran while we're here, where it's just a Bill Brock one shot, right? And so we took that idea and told Skylar about it, and Skylar's like, I love that idea. That's a great idea, but just left it at that, right? We just
Right.
told him about the idea, but then Dave, Michaela are gone. Us three are all free. And then I messaged Skylar and said, hey, we're all free. Do you want to just make that one shot a reality? And Skylar said, sure, why not? I needed some extra filler episodes between seasons and
And
stuff.
I'm just
so-
aggressively typing out an episode. Like, what
like
are we
he
gonna
made
do?
that up in that day.
Yeah.
Like,
Because you guys basically gave me I mean, I cannot stress enough. You guys said, okay, so Connor and I had this crazy idea, right? So it's a one shot where Bill and Brock are in a cave.
that was all we
That
gave
was
him.
all you gave me. And I'm like, whoa, what a brilliant idea. Stressing me out. Furiously started typing.
That was the only premise you gave him was we are in a cave.
That was really all
That
it was.
was all I
Yes, it
got.
was. Well, and the only other premise was a Bill Brock one shot.
Bill and Brock, yeah.
Bill and Brock one shot. But
Now, if I may, I'm sorry I'm asking.
because
now.
they're very much, those two characters were very much yin and yang to each other, where one was slow and methodical in how he approached stuff, while the other one was, I run in head first and think later. And so putting them together, I thought was like the best combination of everyone. And yeah.
I think with that being said, what would a Mika and Guo one shot?
Just her getting mad at Guo a lot? No.
Yeah.
I don't know what
that
kind of
would look
adventure
like.
would they go on.
It would have been interesting to see that.
I don't
'cause
feel like Mika and Guo had a whole lot of.
chemistry.
Well, I mean,
Which is
Mika
ironic.
have chemistry
'cause,
with
I mean, you guys are
anyone?
married.
Probably most with
Brock.
Brock
Yeah.
because I mean we
Well,
dishwashed
I'm not
together.
gonna
So
be the one who's like, oh, I'm gonna make you guys all watch this romantic interface with my wife during the podcast.
That does sound kind of terrifying.
if they were to do one, could you think of an adventure they
That
would?
those
want?
two specific characters would have ended up doing.
Like,
together.
what if Guo tries to drag Mika along to like one of his restaurant
Yep.
reviews,
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I
or
was
like a
thinking.
random food run.
and something goes down in the restaurant? Maybe
Or we
down
go
in
to
this.
like some
it ends up like an Emperor's New
go to
situation
some
where they work
event
in the
and
kitchen.
Mika's fox dog disappears and we have to find it.
Ooh, that's pretty good
Oh,
too.
and
Okay.
Bill's gone. And
Wait, Mika had a fox dog?
Oh my.
oh, my.
Shut up.
his name was.
What was his name?
Oh,
I love that. That's great.
No Mo Po.
No
Mo, that's a
Mo.
good name for the prequel.
title.
There you go.
Oh man.
The question is though, is this a prequel or a postquel? Like, is this
Oh.
It works either way.
because it kind of works better if it's like after
Yeah.
Ash is gone because he's gone now and stuff, and then Brock is off
well, I
doing
feel like
his-
I'm
that's
learning
the
how to
only
read.
way
Brock's
that,
learning how to read.
I
yeah.
feel like that's the only way he would choose Mika to go with him. Was is
Oh.
if it was
You mean-
after.
I have no
You
one
guys all
else to
left.
go.
Well, that's what I feel like because like I said,
I think
we
you're
didn't
right.
have a whole lot of back and forth
Yeah.
during the show. I usually paired up with Brock under the assumption I
Yep.
knew him the best because dishwashing.
And it
And
makes sense.
We had our whole, I don't know what me and Ash had, Bill had.
Oh my gosh, it's like a dog napper.
It
So
could
you
be a
guys
dog
go
napper.
to the restaurant to like try out some new place, and some sketchy dude steals Poe,
it could.
and then it just goes
And
crazy.
then the way
from there.
Mika pairs up with Guo is just kind of like Chico's not around, so Guo's
Right.
there, and she's like, "Guo, come help me" and stuff. And then that leads into because the prequel with Bill and Brock, they weren't meant to be together. Bill wanted to go off by himself to go have quiet time alone on vacation, and Brock followed him because Bill made up some lie about going to a place with cool rocks. And he tried to point Brock down the wrong path, but Brock, thinking Bill was lying to him, followed Bill, thinking he would lead him to the real rocks.
Yes.
So they weren't even meant to go together, and that's what then led into the thing. So I think the Mika and Guo having a joint adventure that wasn't on purpose, but they just
Right.
accidentally go into it. I think that's kind of more natural
Yeah.
for these characters, because I don't think Bill and Brock ever would have really interacted,
Right.
because Bill was way closer with Mika and Guo than Brock. And
Right.
so the way we forced them together. So I
Yes.
think to do their one shot, they would have to force them together,
Sure.
which then would
Which
make them
we
maybe
could.
after that point would have.
Yeah.
Shame we
change
didn't do
the
that
dynamic.
earlier, because then they would have had that chemistry going forward into the podcast, like
That's a fair
Bill and
point.
Brock did because of that prequel. But
Like,
No, that's a very good point. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Just a preface. I just want to say real quick from Luke, he did ask, and I want to emphasize this: if we did spin-off campaigns, what would they be? And we have definitely answered that. So I just
In a
want to
lot of
establish
ways.
that I really appreciate Luke for asking this question. I hope we answered it sufficiently. It came up really organically.
yeah,
But I think there's some fantastic ideas here for sure. For sure.
out of curiosity, what would have happened in our one shot if Brock just decided to, okay, cool, I'll go down this path and see these other rocks? And so then it'd just be Bill by himself and then Brock checking out some rocks.
so sometimes for the narrative of storytelling, there's a little railroading, and that was
There wouldn't be any cool rocks.
Yeah,
He'd be
and-
so mad that he would go find.
Bill and
Yeah.
throw his bow staff in a tree, which is what he did.
No,
So-
yeah, he like took his bow staff and like took it away from him, and then
And then Bill just kept saying the same thing over and over, which was "Give me back my bow staff."
Like, in a minute.
And then you started calling him Mr. Give me back my bow staff.
well, Mister, give me back my bow staff.
Connor, I think exactly what you just described is every DM's nightmare, where a player goes so off like one single player goes so off the script that it just like there is no plot anymore. There's nothing I can even build off of there. It's just gone. All right, you guys have a nice day. You guys go to bed at 8 p.m. Congratulations.
What a great one shot.
What a great one shot.
I think of all the episodes, though, I think mine and Bill's one shot was one of my favorites.
That's fair.
That one and the OSHA.
Oh, the OSHA was so good.
That's
Coming
so
off
good.
of the
So I'm catching a
The
theme
bit.
where you're just letting Brock go off the rails.
Because, I mean, Brock just.
Okay, but Skylar's very much the guy who's like, you know what? I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
I'll allow it."
Yeah, for sure.
You can't just have a guy conjure up a clipboard and walk his way into a factory, and yet.
I mean, but
I mean,
he
I feel like
did.
you
We
could.
did. To be fair, I mean, you look at like the Avatar: Last Airbender cartoon, and
Yeah,
and
they did
other
a lot
cartoons.
of.
There's some crazy, wild, goofy stuff that they managed to pull off, and you're
Yeah.
like, it's believable. I could see it, but it's what they always say: if you wear in the right outfit and you walk in with the right amount of confidence, you can pretty much get in anywhere. I think that
Yeah.
truly does apply here.
I suppose it does.
Yeah. I have one question, and it's one of the sort of last questions that I have. Just jumping over to Mika. Dude, what the heck? We had a whole thing about your blood bending planned out, and you never touched it.
What?
It was mentioned in the
know.
prequel.
Bloodbender?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been a bloodbender the whole time. That was
Okay,
like
but-
Bill's a
But
firebender,
here's
and
the thing with my whole backstory. My mom basically was killed because I was a bloodbender.
right, that's true.
So it's not like I was waiting for a more opportune
Wait,
time.
did Mika kill her mom?
No.
Like you know,
Oh.
like how Bill had his whole. Oh well, wait, I'm Ash and I'm a firebender. I was
Right.
waiting for a moment like that for Mika, where she would have to almost be forced to use it.
a natural way to put it in.
Yeah,
Because I don't
like,
think Bill would have ever
I don't know.
done it if it wasn't for Mika spilling and then Guo asking about his scars.
Mm.
I don't think I would have naturally gotten
Yeah,
to
and
that.
so I just don't know if Mika would have used her blood bending for something as trivial as I'm gonna make this guy weak in the knees. You know what I mean?
I can use my bend and snap for that.
Until she got to a point where it wasn't seen as a bad thing. Because
Sure.
right now with her tribe, it was seen as a very
Right.
you're a witch, basically.
Yeah. And I know that was kind of
So that's probably why I literally did, like, I was like, okay, let's see, can I put this in here and make it make sense for me? And there wasn't a time that I felt like
Yeah, that's fair.
maybe I could do it.
All right, then jump back to that question again. If there was something that I could change, it would have been to make an opportunity. You know, honestly, I would have thought to myself that and I throw back to what I said earlier. Like, I feel like Mika or at least Michaela got most frustrated every time that Madame Yang got away. That could have
I
been
know,
an opportunity. You're
yeah.
like, no, freeze. And then also
I could have. But I think at that point, I was just so used to not using it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess that's something I would have changed. But
Speaking of which, that's going to be terrifying when that shows up in the live action show.
Oh, in the blood bending?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's gonna be
yeah.
like, whoa,
Yep.
no.
I imagine it'll look like kind of in Demon Slayer where you could see their veins like pop up like
Ugh.
really big.
Yeah.
Like if they want to go gross with it,
Are
they
they-
can go so gross with
I
it.
feel like
I
you
hope they
almost
kind
have
of
to.
do.
Are they doing Legends of Korra?
Well, that was still Avatar: The Last Airbender. That was season.
Like that was
3,
season. They
2?
were in the. Were they in the Fire Nation at that point?
Yes, right, because she was living in the Fire Nation because she had been captured and then she
Mm.
escaped, but she was still because she was kind of like manipulating the people to try to like draw them in, and then
Oh yeah, like
so I
the
think that was
witch of-
season 3,
Yeah,
somewhere in there. But anyway, sorry, that's not about our show. I mean, it's
but I mean,
relevant.
sort of. It's about the source material.
That's right. Who's? I don't even know where we're at, but I think
I have 2 questions
Yeah.
left, but
I think
Go
I'm
for
all
it.
done out of questions.
okay. You're out of questions.
yeah, my first one was for Guo.
Okay.
Does Guo ever run into any of his friends from the circus again?
You did run into that one guy.
I mean,
Did
like
run into
just
that
in the
wasn't a
future.
friend,
Do you
though.
think?
That wasn't a friend.
Do you
Sorry.
think any of his friends he would have rekindled a relationship
Yeah.
with?
I would think so. I mean, people probably don't stay with the circus forever. So they might, or it might come to town and he might go see it.
Mm.
So I think he definitely would. And Mirabelle is kind of like his childhood crush. I mean, he's still a child, so who knows? He might try to rekindle that or
Yeah.
pursue that in the future. Or he might just try to go for his favorite actress, Fatima Quick. Get her to sponsor the shop in the future.
Hey,
There you go.
That's right. You know, actually, one of the ideas that I had for a plot line, as far as trying to like get a kind of an emotional moment, and this would obviously was never planned. This is something I thought of like recently. Would have been the circus comes to some space that Guo is traveling to. Probably doesn't make sense that it'd be in Gowling, but I think somewhere else in the Earth Nation. And Guo just happens to be there. Maybe he's doing his.
They steal
his
the fox dog.
maybe that.
Oh,
there
that
you
could've
go.
tied in.
Hey, circus dog.
Oh, the circus. Somebody at the
Wow,
circus.
this needs to happen.
All right. So yeah, okay, maybe that's what happens. Whatever the
Retroactive
case.
one shot.
Yeah, Guo ends up at the circus or the carnival, and there's a couple that's also at the carnival, and they're asking about. There was a kid. We more or less sold him to the carnival when he was little, when he was born. Like, do you guys know where he is? Do you know where this Chang dude is? That's who we sold him to. You know, all this kind of stuff. And Guo overhears that, and like, I don't know. I feel like there could have been something pretty intense there. Maybe I would have been a bit more subtle with it, but that was kind of one idea that I did think of recently. And I was like, dang, that's a way to work in Guo's stuff, but kind of tie all those loose ends. What was your other question, Cameron?
Question for Brock, Connor.
Yeah.
And it was actually a question I had.
Okay.
And I was just curious because you never really talked about it in your prequel, all that stuff, right? It was just, how long were you fighting in the Earth Rumble arena? And what was your record?
Well, I know for a fact he's lost at least one fight
Okay.
because in my prequel episode
Mhm.
he lost.
Right.
Um,
But then he also won.
he also won. So he's at least 1-1 from what we know.
Okay.
But so Brock, whenever he was broken out of the prison by his
Sora.
bestest friend, platonic friend Sora, when he was broken out of prison by Sora, he was kind of tunneled under Gowling, and he sort of popped up with Mr. Ocaron. And so from that point to when Benders and Brews takes place, about how much time has passed? Like a year?
Yeah, like a year at most.
So he had been kind of looking for other money. So I guess after like maybe a week, he went and saw Earth Rumble and was like, I could probably do this. So I would imagine he'd been doing it for probably at least 6 months to a year-ish. He wasn't good.
Right.
His main goal was to be the guy who's like the fill-in fighter. Like if someone has an injury or something, he's the guy that just steps up like, hey, we need you tomorrow. Come in, take this L, and we're going to give you a bunch of money. He'd be that guy.
Was he the fall guy, or
He'd
would
be
he
like-
win sometimes?
Not like the fall guy, but he'd be like the tune-up fight.
Okay.
Like, because Earth Rumble's real, obviously. Like wrestling's real.
yeah.
It's all real.
It's all real.
So he would be the guy that they would call in on short notice, like, hey, we just need a body in here for this dude to fight. Come in, we're gonna pay you X amount of money.
Okay.
And so he would do that. So he lost a lot.
Okay.
We'll say he was like 5-15.
Oh, okay.
5-15. A respectable loser.
Yeah, there you go.
1-3.
He had some wins.
Yeah, he had
Alright.
some wins where he just stepped up and he was like, you know what? It was my night. It was my night. I got a hold of him, and we pulled through.
Yeah.
And then 15 other times he was not.
He was not. That makes a lot of sense. I like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, all things considered, not to be that guy, but part of the reason why you won was because the guy had been drinking a whole lot in the prequel, which I think gets mentioned in there. But
Yeah. So he was not the greatest fighter, but it was like a Nacho Libre situation
Oh.
where he
ate the eagle egg.
it was more like Nacho Libre in the sense where sure, in the movie he wanted to win, but it was more like win or lose, you get paid money, and then he would take that money and give it
And he would buy chips for the orphans.
buy chips for the orphans.
That's right.
He would give them like a salad.
He'd get him a salad.
But yeah, it was more the money from Earth Rumble he would send back to his family.
Right.
And then the money from the Blissful Brew is what he would live off of.
Right. And take pirate ladies on dates with.
Yeah.
Take pirate ladies on dates with, which they definitely enjoyed.
You
I'm
make
trying-
that sound so forced.
I'm trying so hard to make it
You're
work.
gonna love this tea.
It's amazing.
No,
and
you're
I can love it. And yes, I can read.
because it's from Hot Leaf Juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been his whole thing. Like, oh, this tea is terrible, and he's just making a scene like this.
Oh
Hot
my.
Leaf Juice brand tea is the worst I've ever drank. I will be taking my patronage elsewhere.
Ron would say patronage.
Elsewhere.
And elsewhere.
I do imagine Brock coming in with a fancy mustache and a
Monocle
top
and a
hat.
top hat. He's got-
This is quite disgusting tea.
This is
Sora helped them fine tune the script.
Speaking of hot
Yes.
leaf juice, Pizza Time 69 wants to know what happened to it.
Ooh. So I guess, I mean, that kind of plays into that idea that I had before, right? So, but at the same time, I feel like answering it that way is saying that, like, there's the potential for continuation. I like the plot line that we were coming up with where Bill has to join the Fire Nation and it comes over and it gets really intense from there. With that being said, I don't see a whole lot of space for the idea of hot leaf juice and the gang kind of, and also Bill's gone. So why the gang's not going to get back together to go take down hot leaf juice in various locations. With
Mika
that being
and Chikra
said,
might.
what's that?
Mika
and Chikra.
might.
Now, there's a good plot line too, is that Mika and Chikra go and do a more with their investigation business. They like go
Too
and they
many
get
missing
more
kids,
proof.
you know?
Yeah. They get more proof about like the orphans and the exploitation and stuff. And then that leads to, from a national level to some extent, hot leaf juice gets shut down. That's how I imagine it. So there you go. Cool. Yeah. It's a happy ending there. Or at the very least, it gets pushed back to the Fire Nation. Like nobody in the other nations wants anything to do with them. they closed down their locations in the Earth Nation and anything that might be in the Water Nation. Or I think the only nation I didn't have anybody in a hot leaf juice in was the Air Nation. Because I was like, I cannot find a way to justify this. It just doesn't make sense. They don't have money. They don't do money. They like trade or just give each other what they need. They're not like that. What would Madame Yang gain? So I think that was the only one that didn't have anything. Plus, they were going to get destroyed anyway. So yeah, Air Nation's not going to be around much longer. So
I didn't care about them. They're gonna die.
That's not my choice. That's what the creators did. Dave, yeah, you got anything left?
Yeah, maybe that's why none of us chose to be an airbender.
Yeah, right. When did you say you were going to start this? The beginning of the 100-Year War? Oh, Skylar, that's... Oh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that show's called The Last Airbender. Except for this one guy.
That would be hard to justify.
It's a question from Bongo number 5. If you could have played one of the... Oh, this is for Skylar.
that's for me.
If you could have played one of the NPCs in the series, which one would you choose?
Ooh. Probably, like, if I played him as a character... man, everybody really liked, what was his name? The Canadian Guard guy.
Oh, Calcone?
No.
Oh, the Canadian
Calcone
Guard?
would have been funny too, though.
The Canadian Guard Keto?
Keto, yes.
Keto, yeah.
Everybody loved Keto. I feel like that would, and I had fun doing the voice for it. I feel like it would be him.
Yeah.
Because he's just ridiculous. I feel like he would have been like that, just kind of a dumb dude, but like a nice dumb dude that everybody loves. Lovable dumb dude.
Like Kronk.
Yeah, like Kronk.
Which is
Exactly
definitely
like
what
Kronk.
your voice was very similar to.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is
kind of
probably
part of
why
what I was
loved
going
it
for.
so much.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
felt like Kronk just showed up in our campaign. That's why.
He said, all right. Squeaker, squeak, squeak. No.
I think
Talking
one of
to
my
Poe.
favorite.
Oh my gosh, what if he could talk to Poe?
I
That
think
would've
one
been
of my
hilarious.
favorite jokes throughout the whole thing, it wasn't even a joke. It was like kind of like the dad joke that what kind of thing?
What do you like doing without your dad?
Yeah, it's like that. It was this off the cuff moment. It was completely off the cuff with Keto, where he said, "I heard was it a sneeze?
Oh man,
I heard the guy do a bit of a cough, a little bit of a cough." And then
And you asked him.
and I asked what it sounded like.
He's like, oh, it sounded like this. and then like somebody, I think Dave, that was when you stuck
Dave
the,
then threw something at him
the
to make him.
cinnamon into his face, and he goes, oh. It was the exact same cough. And Bill's just like, well, we got him.
Yep, case solved. And I think it wasn't just like it's one of those like the way you did the cough was the exact same way you did the first cough, and you didn't mean to do it.
I did not
And that
mean to
was
do
the
it at
funniest
all.
thing.
I try. It's the limits of my voice capabilities. It's like I don't normally do this character.
was
This is
just
very
like-
much like forcing my voice to do something.
I don't think I've laughed that hard. Like,
That
it
was
just
pretty
the exact same cough, and I was like, "Case solved, right there."
There he is. Book him. Oh, that was pretty great.
I do have another question
Absolutely.
on here for Bill Dorr. What was it like hiding such a huge secret for almost the entire series?
That's a good question.
With Bill's fire bending.
Yeah, I was gonna
Just
say
to
which
be clear.
secret.
Oh!
Which secret? Because he also hid his name for a while too.
that's true,
but-
too.
Well, that you revealed your name way sooner than you.
Oh
revealed
yeah,
your-
very much. His bigger secret was definitely the firebending, and it wasn't. See, that's the hard thing about the firebending. It wasn't. So when Skylar and I were talking about how Bill would reveal it, Skylar was asking if he wanted me to do specific. Like he was worried that I would maybe do it in combat or something like that in a moment, or was I going to have a big moment for it or something like that? And he was just concerned when the timing would be for it. And I told him that Bill would never use his firebending until like his last resort, right? Which, because of his trauma, and he was afraid of his firebending. And so like he was afraid to use it around anyone. He was afraid he'd hurt someone else, right? So it wasn't that I was hiding his firebending. It was that Bill was afraid of his firebending. And so, or Ash was afraid of his firebending. So it helped that it wasn't that hard to hide it because of the fact that when you're afraid of something, you always are trying to avoid it, right? And so Bill was always trying to avoid it. And the only reason I used it in that one episode and revealed it was because I felt like it was a very important moment for Bill's character to like, he needed to use his powers again to forgive himself and not take on that blame of his brother's death anymore. Because it was an accident. And he did everything he could to save him, and he couldn't keep that anymore, and that's why I used it. So it wasn't so initially when I created the idea for Bill, I thought he was going to use his power in like a moment of desperation. Like I imagined like our group was trapped, and he always had this ability called Firewall, which is the one I used, and it was this defensive wall because Bill was trained to be a defender type, so he always tried to use his fire powers for defensive purposes. So he had this ability the whole game, and
it was taking up a slot.
I also was trying to hide my character sheet from people all the time. I was constantly trying that. If I had to hide something, it was my character sheet because on the back it flat up said Firewall,
which was super annoying because I tried to look at your sheet
multiple
several times
yes.
before. Like
you're so Snoopy.
Well, that and like he wrote down a couple things, and so I was like just trying to see like, oh, what was that person's name? And I'd be like, and he'd be like.
Yeah, it's because I had a full-on ability called Firewall, and Skylar printed it onto it, so it wasn't even in pencil. So I'm just like, it's there, and I can't hide it. Anyways, I thought when I had that ability, I thought our group would be cornered, and Bill would step forward as the defender, and it'd use this ability, and it would be a big moment. But then I realized that moment's not going to show up, and that's okay because Bill needs to not be forced to do it through the narrative, but he needs to make that conscious decision and like forgive himself and make it and stuff. And I will say the idea for how I came up with Bill was two parts. One was because of Michaela and I were talking about characters way before character creation. I don't remember what it was, but we were joking about both of us making characters that were one type of bender and then they were a different type of bender. I think she remembers that. And then we all had like a hidden twist to our characters. Yeah. And then she said, why don't you just be a firebender to round out our group and stuff? And I said, no, I don't want to be a firebender. I would hate to be a firebender. I'm going to be like Zuko. I'd be like Sora. Right. Sokka. Thank you. Too many times saying Sora. But Sokka. I mean like Sokka because Sokka was my favorite character. So I'm like, I'll never be a firebender. Firebenders are lame. I'm going to be like Sokka. And then I knew saying that to Michaela. I was like, I have to make a character that's secretly a firebender now because I said that specifically to her. But then when I was trying to craft like, why would I have a firebender that wouldn't want to use his firebending? That's when it like came up with this idea. It was like, what if I was a firebender that was afraid of fire? Right. That's where I came up with the idea. I was like, has that ever been in Avatar? Is there a firebender afraid of fire? I was like, that's an interesting idea. But then I had to be like, how does that come to be? Right. Because like a firebender, how do you become afraid of the thing you create? Right. It'd be like saying earthbender is afraid of rocks. It's like, how do you create that? And that's when I created the story of him accidentally killing his brother. And then that's how he became afraid of fire and all. Yeah.
I mean, there was the moment when Aang was first learning to firebend, and he accidentally burns Katara in the process. And then he kind of swears it off to some extent. Obviously he changed that, but I digress. Yeah. Also, so two quick things along with that. So just to clarify with everybody, from the get-go, that was the plan. Like we didn't just like come up with that part way where we're like, oh, we need like some big crazy moment to happen with one of the characters. Oh my gosh, what if Bill was a fire? Like just to emphasize, we truly had that plan from the beginning that there was going to be that moment where everything just changes. And then it's revealed that Bill is a firebender. On a second note with that, going back to Connor's question about were there any hints, one thing that I thought of while you were talking about your character sheet and stuff was the fact that, so we did the Kickstarter project when Avatar Legends was pitched, right? And so we were waiting for all the materials to come in. So once the materials came in, I was able to hand stuff out to everybody. It comes with 4 packets, like for note taking and stuff like that. And each packet has symbology on it from one of the elements. So I took the waterbender booklet. I gave it to Michaela. I had the earthbender booklet. I don't remember. Did I give it to Guo or did I give it to Brock?
I think you probably gave it to Brock.
I think I did give it to Brock. I gave it to Brock. I had the airbender. Anyone could have gotten that one. I handed it to Guo. And I took the firebender book and I gave it to Bill just because. And I hope that nobody with that. I mean, the airbender one kind of throws it off a little bit because otherwise it would have been, that much funnier. But I digress. Like, he did technically have
And
the
there-
booklet, and obviously the audience wouldn't know
And
that. But
there was one episode, I don't even remember what it was, but it was when we were doing fun facts, and someone revealed they're like, I'm secretly a airbender. I think it was
Right.
like Michaela was joking about Mika's like, Mika's secretly an airbender as
Right.
well, right? Whatever. And then Connor just on a spur of a whim just went, I bet Bill's secretly a firebender.
I remember that, yes.
And I think in the moment I went, that's silly.
And you're like sweating, you're like
I just
pulling your
played it
collar.
off as a
Oh,
joke.
God.
But I thought it was so funny that just out of nowhere, Connor's just like, yeah, Bill's secretly a firebender too, joking and laughing. I'm just like, yeah, he is. But
It would have been so funny if we had you over in the corner and you're just sweating.
Yeah.
Just like Jordan Peele in that skit where he's just like, ha ha.
Yeah, so funny, guys.
That's a real knee slapper, huh?
Did anybody not get a question in from their sheet, or did we get through?
I guess I had one more Cameron question, but
How did you land on the name Bill Door?
Oh,
as your alias?
did I not explain?
He did explain that.
Did he
I
explain
did
it?
explain
I might
it.
not have been
It's
listening.
it was in my prequel, but it basically I took inspiration from I will say it here because I don't want anyone to be
I'm
like
pretty sure you did it when we all had that tender-hearted moment under the tree after I
Oh.
tried to heal your burns.
Brock definitely wasn't listening.
no, I don't think I said it then.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Well, then what do you think it was?
Just-
He saw a
you
guy.
didn't have something
Okay,
to do
on
with the
the
pirate
ship.
ship,
It
and
was
you
on
were
a pirate
just
ship.
like, yeah.
He saw a guy on a pirate ship building a door. He's like, he's
That's
building a
not how
door.
it went.
No.
Building doors.
I don't
was
remember
it?
how
Yeah,
he
it
came
was
up with the name
definitely-
Bill, but he definitely was like, yeah. And then I looked at a door, and I was like,
It was
Bill
definitely
Door.
in the prequel.
It was in the prequel.
I really thought it was in that other
I
part.
think I
but-
told you guys just outside of character, but basically it was from Terry Pratchett book where there's a character named Death, and he came back to become a human, and he didn't know what his name was when someone asked him what his name was, and so what he did was he looked around and he saw like a thing in the house, and he's like, "That's my name," and they're like, "That's not a name," and so that's what Bill did. Basically, Mr. Okron confronted him. He was on the run, so he had to quickly come up with a name. So he looked around the pirate ship, and he said, "My name's Door," and he went, "Door, that's not a name. What are you talking about?" Oh, he's like, and then Mr. Hogan's like, "Is that your last name?" And then he's like, "Yeah, that's my last name." And he's like, "What's your first name?" And Bill's like, "I don't know. Like, what are common
You
names?"
said, what are common
What are
names?
common names? And then he just started naming off names. He said Bill, and I went, "Yeah, Bill. My name's Bill Door." And then that's how Bill Door came.
Just to
be.
clarify, if you haven't listened to the prequel, you definitely should.
I will say
Obligatory
though,
thing.
I did find it funny that when Skylar named off names, he named like Kai, Jin, Ming, Bill, and it was like an obvious like not name like the other ones. And I was like, Skylar, why didn't you think of like other like Jim, Bob, Bill? Like that would have made more sense. But whatever.
So we did a one shot. Michaela and I did a one shot with Flying Bison podcast, and I'll never forget. I had this idea for a character. I don't remember what I had for his original name, but I sent him the character sheet, and then like we were about to get started, so everybody's in there in the room. And also, you should definitely check out the Flying Bison podcast. If you enjoyed the Benders and Brews, you should definitely check those guys out because they're really awesome. But we're all in the chat, and the one running it, he says, "Hey, Skylar," and I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Could you come up with a more Avatar-esque name for your character?" And I
you're
was like,
like,
"Oh,
oh,
man,
yeah."
yeah." And I'm like, "Well, okay, I messed up." So I had to quickly.
So you're
come up with
saying if
something
I was
else.
on their podcast, they would have made me change my name from Bill Door?
Maybe. I think it's more just the fact of like, and I don't deny that I did pick something that was probably out there. I probably picked like Jasper. No, because even that feels like it could work. It was I don't know. It was out there.
I will say, when I created the name Bill Door, the idea wasn't like it was supposed to seem like a fake
Yeah.
name. That was the point. It was supposed to be like an obvious fake name
Right.
and stuff.
And
I
Mr.
think even,
Oberon wasn't fooled.
and I think everyone in our group even was like, it's clearly a fake name, and I think they even made
I was
jokes
gonna say, I'm
about
pretty
it
sure
and
I
stuff.
remember Michaela explicitly making a joke about like.
But
wow, that's
I
a
will
dumb
say,
name.
Mr. Okron knew Bill's real name, but
Yes.
because he would have revealed it to him at some point. But Bill never revealed to him that he was a firebender.
Right.
That he just kept secret.
And I don't know if there's any reason that Mr. Oberon necessarily would have known that, unless somehow he met somebody along the way and saw information. I don't know, but he definitely, would have known the name. And
So I had one final question, really, and I was.
That's what you said the last question.
Well, then you overrode
No,
me.
I'm
Now
kidding,
Connor
I'm
asked a
kidding.
question. That's what it was. But anyways, my question was: I talked about how I created Bill,
Yeah.
and I wanted to know how the three of you created your characters. Like, what was your?
What was your inspiration?
I guess I'll start with Brock because I feel like yours is the simplest compared to the other two. So
Yeah, basically, I wanted to create a character that was just dumb as a post and didn't have to use my brain a lot because this was something we were doing in our spare time and I didn't want to have to do a ton of thinking. Plus, it was like my first character in a sort of D&D
this
esque
is his first
campaign.
RPG.
That's true.
And I figured I'd go with one that matches closely to a personality, to my already
You're
actual
saying you're
real life
dumb?
personality. Well, yes.
I don't know if I would agree with that.
To be
but-
fair, most people for their first like D&D character, RPG character, they typically make their first character very similar to themselves.
Yeah.
And that's also what I would recommend as a DM is make a character close to yourself because it makes role playing easier.
Yeah.
And then the more you play, the more you learn, you can then start kind of pushing those bounds and stuff. But
I feel like if I were to do another campaign, I would want to try and venture out, do something that's not so close to a hard-headed personality. But it was very fun to play with. I wanted to do one that was an earthbender because I really liked Toph in the show. I also felt that like Firebender, Airbender, it's a prequel to the 100-Year War, so it's not going to end up great for them. So I figured Earthbender because I also really liked the Earth Rumble 6 episode where Toph beat the boulder.
Waterbender didn't even cross your mind.
No, what? No. So then I thought, okay, I'll build a character that's basically like the kid who grows up to be just like the boulder.
yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
The boulder feels conflicted about fighting a young blind girl.
What an inspirational character.
What an
Yeah,
inspiration.
To all of us. It's funny you say that if you played again or played a different TTRPG, you wouldn't want to play a character that's just yourself, basically. But ironically, and we have this coming out in November, it's called Black Friday of the Dead. It's an all flesh must be eaten one-shot campaign, and you literally, and to be fair, it was forced on you.
It
And
was
you
forced.
literally play yourself.
I am playing myself.
literally, Connor. You work as a news reporter guy.
I'm diabetic in the
You're
show.
diabetic.
But to be fair, that character was created without
Yes.
the intention of me actually playing.
That's also
Yeah.
true. You were
Yeah.
supposed to be an NPC of yourself, and then it's very complex. So if that's something you're interested in, keep an eye out for that in November. But what about Michaela? What was your backstory to not your backstory to your character, but the character creation?
I don't know. I feel like I was talking to Cameron about character creations, and I think I told him I'd do a waterbender or firebender.
How'd you land on water?
I think because I liked what's her face in the show?
Katara?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And then I just wanted something more unique. That's why the bloodbending, which we never used, was in there.
It was always there. I was always like at any given moment, I wasn't sure if you were gonna bust that out. And I mean, I think there was a
I
couple
thought about
times
it a
where I
few
was like
times.
over here winking at you aggressively,
Yeah.
like, oh, Bloodbender, maybe now. And you didn't, but at the same time, like I'm always like wondering, is she gonna? You kept me on my toes on that one for
Well,
sure. All the way to the end, man. My anxiety was spiked.
Still
at the end
people.
of the show.
Still people. Anyway, it's fine.
Imagine
And
how
then
spiked it was because not only did she have bloodbending, but Bill had the firebending him the whole time. So you had two different people who at any moment could just
Could
burst
just pull
out
out their
these power
card.
moves.
abilities.
And you're like, oh, finally, Ash revealed his abilities, but there's still Mika. And
I think there was one point where I was like ready to use it, but I think somebody else did something, and then I
Probably
was
Brock.
like, and then I didn't feel like it would be as
meaningful.
yeah, I don't know. Anyway, and then I feel like I always play a darker person
You're
too.
right. It's true. You like playing the emo-esque characters.
Edgelord.
But I feel like in the Flying Bison, I was not as emo.
Yeah, that's true. That's
so
true.
I did. If you want a different side of
Yeah.
that,
Check out that
Really go
episode.
check it out,
Yeah.
but-
You'll see, the Benders and Brews characters mentioned in there. So, us as players, I guess. What about Dave? What inspired Guohan? Where was he birthed from?
I think just like trying to think of backstories like the circus, and then I like the cliche of running away from home to join the circus. I'm like, well, what if I reversed that?
Hey.
And then, so just like this young kid who is a little vulnerable, is looking for a home, somewhere to fit in. Guo in Chinese means like wall. So like I had the idea of like, oh, he's got these walls built up around himself. I didn't really get into that much. I mean, he was pretty friendly with all you guys.
It would have been weird having two very edgy
characters. I got a feel for the group, like Cameron's, because I also had in mind like, oh, Guo could be like a more defensive character, but then Cameron's character was kind of defensive, and like Mika's character was kind of like more shut off from people.
Right.
So then I leaned into the more of like being the youngest member, kind of being goofy like Aang is in the show, because he's the youngest. So.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it too.
Yeah,
It's like the
we
carefree
needed some
support.
lighthearted character.
Yeah, the carefree support.
Yes.
Stealing hats and snapping fingers.
And the hats was hilarious.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
too.
Also, you becoming the captain.
That was
also a great moment
with
as
the
well.
captain's hat.
Well, did that even happen?
Well.
I would almost said that one, but I'm like, was that even recorded?
Was that recorded?
So
that
you
might have
got
been right
the
after
hat
the
and
microphones
everything.
went off.
The thing that we lost was when you guys were escaping the ship, and then I think we lost a bunch of that, so we just had to reference it. So I just had you guys like basically we got up to the moment that you guys jumped off, and then we had to re-record you guys getting to shore. So it was almost like a weird cut scene.
But we did have him pretending to be the captain.
Right.
Okay, that's
Because
all
he
that
had the hat.
That's
Yeah.
all that
Well,
matters.
we did have that. Then, like, I think we stopped recording, and then, like, I made another joke of like, I've got two peg legs.
Yes, I remember that. That was funny.
I also like that.
It was a post recording.
Where what you asked? It was Mr. I think it was Mr. Okuran when you guys met him in the spirit world and stuff like that. And then like you asked him, you're like, whatever happened to my captain's hat?
Yep.
And Mr. Okuran just says, "I'm sorry, Guo. It's at the bottom of a very big ocean." Because it would have been when you guys jumped out.
Well, we also referenced the hat multiple times
Yes.
after that too. So it was funny that like I did find that funny when we all were talking to Mr. Okran's Spirit World, and all of us asked like kind of important questions, and then Guo's just like, "Where's my hat?"
But that goes with being the youngest.
That goes
character,
with
right?
Dude, oh my gosh, and that would fit so well into the idea that Guo has a floating island restaurant on
He's
the
just
like
trying
it's really
to
just a
find his
front for looking
captain's
for the
hat.
hat.
and he'd have
the
the
one
perfect-
piece.
Yeah,
The hat's my treasure.
The hat is the one piece.
Luffy.
He's Luffy.
Oh my
I
gosh, can
feel
Guo
like-
not swim?
I feel like with all
She
of our
can swim.
One Piece references, we just need to do a
One Piece
spin-off
link.
of
Cameron's got
Whoa.
something he's
because
working
he
on.
said he's gonna be a pirate.
Funny
Brock said
thing
he's gonna
about
be a
that,
pirate.
I actually am working on a
He
campaign
is.
that we're going to record in the future
Yes.
that is themed. It was a combination of One Piece and BioShock Infinite.
Nice.
Which so the whole planet is island nations, and then there's over top of the island nations is a giant like it's basically like water world with a bunch of island nations, One Piece, and then above it is a gigantic like cloud country.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
Wow.
So keep an eye out for an ear. I always say that. Keep an ear out for that.
I think I have a name for it too, but
Above and below.
Whoa, hold
that's
on.
a good name. That's actually
That
a
is
good
That's
a good
name.
also a board game.
It's a really fun board
Oh,
game. I
what
love
was
the
the?
fun board.
Hold on. I had a name. It was based from a song, from the Postal Company. Such Great Heights.
Such great heights.
That was the name of that I had.
Oh, I think I know that song. Okay.
Yeah,
Out of curiosity, because I just thought of this question. So not Guo. Bill's final thing was the fire thing. Mika's like secret ability was the blood bending.
Uh-huh.
What was Guo's last resort move?
He probably did.
I don't know if you ever used it.
Well, no, I'm the only one that used my. Well, I was the only one
Well,
that
but-
used my moment of whatever it was.
Moment
called.
of truth.
Yeah,
or something?
Guo, were you ever hiding a secret from the game master?
No, Connor's referring to the moment of balance.
Oh, that
Yes.
one. Yeah.
My character, I kind of regret. I don't know. I just like the role, whatever character type I picked. I had trouble playing it, kind of, because it was supposed to be all about like confiding in other people and like asking for guidance, which you think would be easier, but I don't know. I just struggled with it.
No, I mean, I'm right there with you. I mean, I think we can all probably agree. Jumping into, because we came from a lot of like D&D background and things like that. Jumping into Avatar Legends, it's a very different game, even more so than like we played Monster of the Week, which is also a Powered by the Apocalypse game. And this felt so vastly different just because there were so many of those kind of emotional elements that they kind of, I don't want to say forced, but like they've implemented a lot of opportunity to engage with things very from an emotional standpoint, like create dialogue and stuff like that. And it's hard to come from games where everything's so stat and role focused into having such a heavy role play game. So I was lost in a lot of that kind of stuff too. I know that it took us maybe like till season 3 to actually have a pretty solid grasp on the rules, honestly, at some point. So yeah, I wouldn't feel bad by any means, because it's a very weirdly complicated game for being weirdly simple.
But what was his like?
I would have to read it. It's
Oh.
something like calling somebody to adhere to their true values or something.
That,
To be fair, me and Michaela's didn't just say use your firebend and use your bloodbending.
Oh.
Like it's basically in the rules. It's basically a moment where you get to pause the game and just take control of the scene. You basically say DM. It's basically an Aang's avatar state, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna reveal that in the AMA. Yes, I've seen the show. I don't think I ever revealed that at all, but yes. But it's basically
the firebending and the moving on and everything. We thought that was the big catalyst. No.
But Aang's avatar state, and so the moment of balance is basically your character's avatar state, where basically you get this big moment where you get to describe it, and basically the DM steps back and says, "Yeah, take the scene," right? Which is, for example, Bill's scene, right?
Like you win the moment.
you'll win the moment, and you get to do basically whatever you want, which kind of what was Brock doing the whole time. But anyways,
Do whatever you want.
but,
do whatever you
So,
want.
I lo-
Physics. Who cares?
I looked up. So Guo was the adamant.
Mhm.
So his moment of balance was you've held true to a core conviction even while getting your hands dirty to do what you deemed necessary. But balance means appreciating that other people are just as complex as you are, not merely obstacles or pawns. Tell the GM how you solve an intractable problem or calm a terrible conflict by relating to dangerous people on a human level. I don't know. I just didn't.
Wow.
that'd be a hard one to.
That would
What
be
if
a
I-
tough one.
Madam Yang and she's a monster.
Yeah, what kind of situations did we find ourselves in where that would have been applicable? Or would we have found any situations where that would have been applicable?
Maybe we'll find the Fire Nation guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
if we ran into like a group of them in that break-in mission we did.
Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe
That could have worked. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
or
like-
like some of the hot
Or
leaf
if we-
juice employees who weren't totally brainwashed. I don't know.
Or maybe it kind of broke him out of it or something
Yeah.
to some extent. That could have been. Yeah.
Maybe we're like,
I don't know. You kind of did do that when you guys were escaping the factory, and then you sort of shotgunned the pebbles to kind of.
But he
snap
broke them
people
out
of it.
with damage and not with
Right.
his words, which is what his moment
Right.
of balance is.
But if that, I mean,
I
that
did
could
the
have been a
opposite.
really
Yeah.
cool opportunity.
yeah.
Like,
He
Guo goes
raises
up.
his flag above him. He goes, "We don't have to stand for this tyranny no more." And then they all turn and they
Oh, I thought he
see
was
the
gonna
rays
say,
of
"I am
Guo
the
Huang
captain
as
now."
the sun's behind him, and they all they're the shades of mind control falls away.
That would have been awesome. Well, I think that's all of the questions that we kind of had written down for everybody. Want to thank, obviously, all of you guys for playing the game, for being a part of this awesome story that we got to tell. Obviously, I want to thank everybody that sent us questions. Huge appreciation there. Want to thank, obviously, everybody that listened for enjoying the show. Hopefully, I'd assume, if you listened this far, and had a good time as we told this amazing story. It's been a long journey.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
yeah.
Be sure to check out our other series, obviously. All our other one-shots and other shows at Session Zero Heroes. We're not done telling stories. We're just closing this one out. Just really want to emphasize that. But whatever the case, we'll see you guys next time on Session Zero Heroes. Hey everyone, Skylar the Game Master for Benders Brews and the Creative Director over at Session Zero Heroes here. I just wanted to give you a quick outro before you head over to the next episode or call it a day. Firstly, thank you so much for listening to our show. It means so much to us to have such amazing people like yourself that enjoy the content that we produce. Without you, there really wouldn't be much point in all the work that we put into recording, editing, and sharing our TTRPG sessions with all of you. With that being said, we would love it if you would throw some love our way and drop us a review or a rating or whatever it is called wherever you're listening to the show based on whatever platform that allows you to leave reviews and leave recommendations. It means a lot to us to get to hear why you love the show we make, and it also helps the show reach other listeners as well, allowing us to grow our community. So, if you're feeling especially generous, you could even go as far as to share our show to your friends and family who also enjoy TTRPG actual play podcasts. It's really expensive for us to be able to advertise, and we don't do much of it, so it's a lot more help to have you guys share it with people that you know will enjoy it, and then they can join in the community that we're creating. That would make you a Session Zero hero yourself. And additionally, we'd love to have you stop by on one of our various social platforms and interact with the channel there. You can find Session Zero Heroes on Facebook, X, Instagram, and Discord. We post all sorts of updates, clips, and even the occasional behind-the-scenes look at what we're up to. And if you're ever looking for information on SZH, or you don't use a podcast streaming site but you want to listen to our shows, you can do so by checking out our website at sessionzeroheroes.com. And while you're there, you can find out about the cast and the crew that make our show and provide the players' voices in all of our various series. And if you're feeling especially cheeky, you can check out our merch store, where we have a ton of designs and products to choose from, all of which help us pay the bills and keep the lights on. So once again, thank you all so much for listening, and remember to stay curious, stay heroic, until we roll again.